Geely, a Chinese auto company, recently at the close of 2021 came up with a new truck called Horizon Home Truck, and it looks like China has closed in on the West, and in many cases it has overtaken the West. And by the West, I mean the United States, its allies, so-called allies, who call themselves the international community. For a very long time, they have excluded the rest of the world from the international community. When they are talking about the international community, they mean decisions they take on behalf of the rest of the world. So the West has been overtaken in many times, in many cases, and this is in the aspects, all the aspects that are going to shape the 21st century and probably even the 22nd century. So there is a couple of technologies which are mentioned in the book called The Third Industrial Revolution by Jeremy Rifkin. And if you combine that outlook from the Third Industrial Revolution with what Ray Dalio has been saying in the Changing World Order, principles of the Changing World Order, how nations rise and fall. That book was published last year also, around, interestingly, 2021 in November. That is the same month, 2021 November, when Geely also released its truck. And this truck is being looked at as a rival to Tesla's semi-truck, and it is really a beautiful truck when you look at it. So now let me go back to Jeremy Rifkin. Jeremy Rifkin, in his book The Third Industrial Revolution, which was released around 2017, there is a couple of technologies which he talks about that shape an industrial revolution. He went as far back as what he called the first industrial revolution that happened in Britain, and then he went as far as the second industrial revolution, which happened in the United States. Now there is three technologies, key technologies that he mentioned. One, there is communication technology, there is transport technology, and there is energy. So energy is what powers an industrial revolution, a special kind of industrial revolution. Like when we go back to the first industrial revolution, we can talk of steam. Now then there is communication. There was telegram, in the first industrial revolution, the telegram as a means of communication, and the newspaper and the printing press. Those were the means of communication, newspapers when they came out. Now three, there was the rail, and that rail as a means of transport was powered by steam, and the press too, which was printing the newspaper as a means of communication, it was powered, the press was powered by steam. So that the steam was the source of power. Now let's go to the second industrial revolution. During the second industrial revolution, America discovered the oil. So when America discovered the oil, that was the means of power, the source of power to power their second industrial revolution. And what was the means of the communication? The communication technology that powered the second industrial revolution was the telephone. So they discovered the telephone, so when they discovered this means of communication, then they added on it a means of transport. Ford came up with the cars. That time people were using horses and the train. So when he put people on the wheels and the cars started moving on the roads, then that was the means, that was the means of transportation. Now those are the three key technologies that shape a third industrial revolution: source of energy, transportation, and communication. Now let us come back to or go further to the third industrial revolution that he speaks about, that is happening right now. The third industrial revolution is being shaped by the Internet of Things, one, as a means of communication, energy, renewable energy, the renewable energy. Now what is the means of transport? The means of transport is like high-speed trains, electrified, altogether is electrified transport systems or sustainable transport systems. And we see that in all these key technologies, the three technologies, actually China is winning in them. When you look at electrified transport, there is no country on earth that has as advanced transport systems and logistics systems as China. 2, energy. There's no country leading as China when it comes to renewable energy. China is producing more renewable energy than anyone else when you are talking about wind, when you are talking about solar energy. So all of them combined is leading. So and when it comes to Internet of Things, China is still leading. It has more 5G base stations installed, as compared to anyone else around the world. And on top of that, the Chinese are the ones who came up with the 5G. 5G is a means of communication, okay, because it will power the next industries, whereby things will be manufactured even remotely. You send information and then you can even interact with the manufacturer in the process, of manufacturing a particular product which you want them to manufacture for you. So China is leading in that. China has not stopped at 5G. It has gone further, as even already starting the research into 6th generation networks of telecommunications. So you can see that in the 3 determinant technologies that shape an industrial revolution, China is already leading. It has extremely beautiful, and robust infrastructure, communication, transport system. You look at the high-speed trains. Now they are even coming up with their own, aeroplanes. Comac has started manufacturing planes, to compete Boeing from France and Europe, and then Boeing is from the United States, and then to compete against Airbus from France and Europe. So Airbus is from France and Europe, and then Boeing is from the United States. This is the duopoly, or sort of you can call it the aviation monopoly. It has only 2 people, France and the United States, who have been controlling this industry, and China is coming up with its own. Now on the other side also we have Russia, which has come up with the Sukhoi superjets. So when you look at all this that China is winning in, even Russia is on the side of China, and most of the developing world is on the side of China, because now the world has realized that we need a new leadership. We are tired of the type of leadership, colonial, with the colonial mindset, the type of leadership that wants to enslave the rest of the world. So the world now is moving away from that, and that is because of what China has done, and China has played a very, very big role in this. I will say China helped so much in the democratization of technology. When you look at phones, for example, in continents like ours, Africa never had a chance to interact with the phones. This telephone technology, it was not widespread until China came on board and started manufacturing telephones. That is when technology exploded all over, Africa. Smartphones, the first smartphones were brought by Huawei in Africa. No other communication company. In the West, the telephones came in the 1980s, but they never even took, time, or they never even risked to send it to Africa, because the West has always thought that if you release technology to other people, then they will outcompete you. And this is not the mindset which China has. China had this ability, to see the future even beyond what the West has done. And then it democratized the technology. It gave the people technology. And this technology has come about with information, overload, or freedom and democratization of information. So now we can access information. You can manufacture anything. You can see ideas, all over where you are, on the internet. Anywhere where you are, you can access these ideas and go out there and use them in manufacturing. So this is where Africa also is supposed to jump in. So actually, Africa is supposed to use this as an opportunity to build itself, to strengthen itself. And that starts with the unity. As we have always said long time ago, one aspect that we are supposed to be working on right now, and vigorously and relentlessly, is the aspect of unifying Africa as a continent. If we unify Africa as a continent, then we will gain extreme power for us to be able to fast track all these fields, launch a rapid implementation of new technologies in transport, new technologies, in communication, and new technologies in energy, renewable energy. Because Africa, where it is, its industry is supposed to be powered by renewable energy. It should not be powered by all the technologies like the internal shock combustion engine, and hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons, I mean petrol and diesel and all those fuels that have been polluting the environment. Africa has to look at new technologies that are going to live friendly, in line, with the environment. So we are not going to employ technologies that are going to destroy the environment when we are advancing our, type of industrialization. That is why you see that things like Wakanda, they are even more real today. They are more real for Africa. It is more possible for Africa to implement things like Wakanda, whereby we live, with the environment as friends and not people who are just coming to exploit the environment. So the technologies that are supposed to power Africa, energy, transport and communication, they are supposed to be technologies that are able to preserve the environment, because Africa, like we have said always, is the last frontier. Africa is the last frontier whereby the environment has to be preserved, but at the same time, rapid development has to be achieved and improved standards of lives have to be, achieved. So that means Africa has to revise, what they call development. We have to move rapidly, as in the form of providing the better lives, to our people, like education, good health, and all the things which come with that. But then we have to understand that the measure of development is not necessarily GDP, the pursuit of endless growth. So we are supposed to reach a certain level of development, and we say now, how does this balance with the environment? Are we living, friendly with the environment? Is this sustainable, environmentally sustainable? So that we understand that we are supposed to balance, we are supposed to strike that balance between our growth and our welfare as a people, individually, all of us, individually. We are supposed to strike that balance between our welfare as a people and then the environment. The environment has to be taken care of equally as the people. Okay, so that means agriculture has to be looked at, planting trees like all over the Sahel, all over the Sahara Desert has to be looked at. The use of solar energy, even that solar energy can be looked at. How can it be incorporated into green, green planting trees? So how can research has to be striked? How can we harvest the energy? At the same time, we have trees in those spaces where we are harvesting energy, and we are planting more trees. So there has to be a campaign like what Prime Minister Ahmed Abe in Ethiopia has started, of planting trees. Planting millions, 20 million, 30 million, 30 billion trees. Okay, so this has to be a campaign, and it has to be incorporated in that speed, of development that we are trying to seek, to seek as Africans when we are trying to develop. So we have to completely, like how one of our Walter Rodney authors, one of our authors, Walter Rodney, said we have to completely, or in many cases, disconnect ourselves from the United States, Europe, and those colonial powers, those colonial countries that have been exploiting the earth and destroying the environment for a very, very long time. We have to teach them a lesson that you have to live, in coexistence. You have to live sustainably with the environment and not destroy the environment and create metallic boxes, and create gadgets at the expense of humanity, at the expense of the environment, because we are the environment. If there is anyone that knows how to live with the environment, it is Africans. When you look all over Europe, and you look in America, you look everywhere, even in China, there's no space that has more animals like Africa. So this is where nature has gotten a chance to still be preserved. Okay, this is a space where we have still been able to preserve nature and the environment. So we need to incorporate that in our development, not only to pursue industries and metallic boxes, and make metallic boxes and gadgets and electronics at the expense of the environment. So this is my outlook when it comes to the speed at which China is developing. So everyone has at this stage to pay close attention to the achievements which China has made. Everyone has to pay close attention, because the West, whether it wants it or not, it has been overtaken. Okay, it has been overtaken, and they have fallen behind. The mindset which they have is an old mindset. This, even Elon Musk when he went and visited China and saw that they built China built its gigafactory, the Tesla gigafactory. Within 9 months, they started building that factory in January, and they finished the factory, around September, and within November, it had started putting out vehicles. So you can see that Elon Musk came back to the United States and said that what is happening in China is unbelievable. There's no way even the United States can catch up with China, because those people are serious at working. And so Africa, as a people, we have to look at our systems, starting with the problem, like what one of the Nigerian authors said, the Nigerian poet, one of the Nigerian laureate Nobel Prize winner poet said, and writer said that Africa's problem is squarely the problem of leadership. So we have to revise the system that has been governing Africa. The system of leadership has to be revised immediately to a system that unifies the people. I know it has been looked at as controversial to say single party democracy, because since when we were young, we have been hammered with this thought that there can only be one type of leadership. There can only be a multi-party democracy. But we are going to aggressively, have to face. We are going to have to aggressively face this type of thought and uproot it out of ourselves and advocate for a system that unifies the people, for them to work aggressively together. We as a people who are still developing, and we are 2 or 3 industrial revolutions behind everyone else, we cannot afford, like what Nkrumah said, we cannot afford to divide ourselves and start fighting against ourselves when it is time for working. So we have to revise that. Before we reach anywhere, we have to revise that. We have to understand that we have to work in unison, in unity. Okay, and certain people who are experts at certain fields have to run those fields, okay, before we have achieved anything. So when we achieve that, maybe we can start discussing those things of how to divide power, one group taking on power and then leaving it after a certain period, another group coming, but not in the current way that politics is being run, whereby groups are just fighting, and when they come, they destroy what others are built. But we have to see how to contribute. Each of us have to contribute, but mostly fields, which are supposed to be run by experts, have to be run by experts, not politicians who don't understand these things. If it has to be a politician, he has to be a unifier, or someone who sports abilities, okay, and puts these abilities into use, the people's abilities, and he summons them and then puts them to use, so that Africa can be able to advance, rapidly forward. Not people who are going to use these positions of power in factories, instead run enterprises, not to use those positions and reward the people who were campaigning for him. Actually, I even think that when it comes to issues of campaigning to get votes, some of those things have to go really away. They have to go away, because we really don't have time. We don't have time. We cannot continue to do the same thing over and over and expect different results. We have to change the way we are running Africa and doing Africa. Thank you very much. This is Africa Reimagined, the channel where we discuss technology, where we discuss current affairs, where we discuss politics and how all politics around the world affects the continent. Every single thing that happens all over the world is supposed to affect Africa in a certain way. So we are saying, we at Africa Reimagined and the Rapid Africa Transformation Project, which we are working on, that is an amalgamation of projects from around the continent and the diaspora from Africans to rebuild the continent. We are saying that a new way of doing things has to be implemented on the African continent, and the resources of the African continent have to benefit the African people first, African people and its diaspora first, because these resources belong to the Africans. Thank you so much, and subscribe to the channel, like and share with everyone. God bless.